Welcome to Gaming with Scott presents Marvel Superheroes. Join us each week as our intrepid heroes follow a path of adventure and attempt to save the world and each other from the dangers of the universe. Starring Martin Davis, Josh Elliott, John Garlic, Josh Jackson, and Rico Suarez, with me, Scott Troiano, running the table as the judge. Epic adventure and titanic struggles await you beyond this music.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Gaming with Scott. I'm doing a solo session tonight with Josh Elliott.
Hey, everybody.
And I really need to bring my volume down so that you can bring your volume up. It'll be all right. It's all good. I need to not be up here with announcer voice, but be more down here with storyteller voice.
I will do my best to project to fill the space.
All right, it's all good. So, where were we when last we left the scene?
If I remember correctly, I had just come back to my new dark energy body, which you so lovingly bestowed upon me.
Oh, go ahead.
And my wife and daughter had just freaked and run from the room.
Did they say anything on the way out?
Yes.
What?
I think they called me a monster.
Oh, yeah, they did, didn't they? All right. So as a side note, just between the two of us, so how was it at the end of last game when you got everything you wanted? Your family was back. You're not going to die anymore from the thing that's in your head.
Well, you know, it's interesting because it's for Wells. It's definitely anytime our lives are really simple, and then in a hard shift become very complicated. Mm-hmm. There's a free float period, kind of a period,
right?
And that's kind of where he's at, because as bleak as his situation was, there was a definite simplicity to it. Family's gone. Yeah, I'm dying, and I have this thing in me, and I have these powers, but none of that matters because my response is clear. What I need to do is clear.
Which was?
Hurt them back.
Right. Okay.
Right?
Right.
Now, all of that simplicity is gone. Right?
All right.
They're back. They've rejected him. Obviously his first priority is them. Mm-hmm. But in the larger scope, moving out towards that, assuming everything works out with him and his family, because that obviously impacts everything.
Right.
But assuming, right?
Right.
Where do we go from here?
Mm-hmm.
What does this mean now? There's no simplicity now. There's no rule. There's no clear and cut directive.
Well, isn't the standing directive still hurt them back?
Yeah, but it's no longer like the prime directive. It's lost a little bit of its teeth, right? I mean, definitely, it's gone from becoming justice that must be served in an almost personally transcendent way. Uh-huh. This isn't even about you and me, you know?
Right.
It's now become the schoolyard bully who spit in your milk. You obviously want to stand up for yourself, right? And hurt the people who have wronged you. But now it opens the door towards going, I'm a better person if I don't let the bully bother me in the first place. It starts to bring that element into play.
Right.
So now it's not justice. Now it's just revenge.
And is that a more pure motivator for Wells or a less pure motivator? Now, if it's just plain revenge, does that give John's argument of, Wells is a villain, more credence, more ground to stand on, or less?
No, because he can go the guardian angel route.
That this is a villainy that must be dug out as it will be a ruin to society.
It's no longer personal in that sense. Now it's become, this isn't about, you've hurt me, but you've hurt so many people.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Think of the poor cyber gorillas.
Right.
Right? Okay. So, they've just called you a monster. They just ran from the room. And what are you doing next?
Obviously, I'm going to move to follow them.
Okay. Chase after them.
Correct.
You take your first step, and the lights go out. The world goes black. It's almost as though you're unconscious, only you can feel your footsteps as you... Only you're not sure where you're running. You have no sight, you have no sound, you have no sense of touch.
But I can hear.
Yes.
Okay. So obviously...
You hear no voices around you.
I would stop and try to take things in for a second. Like, what just happened?
Okay? As you take a moment and your eyes adjust, there is light. Only it is way over there. And over there. And over there. Pinpricks of light.
Hello?
Dr. Wells. And it's the voice from the machine.
Ah. I was busy, you know.
Certainly. Aren't we all?
Yes, just like we're all dying in the Sylvia Plath sense of the word, I suppose. What did you need?
Oh, I don't need anything. What do you need?
I did this?
Well, there was concern, was there not?
Of course.
For what?
My family.
More than that.
I don't follow.
Of course you don't. What's more concerning than just your family?
Can we do this later?
Yes.
I need to find them.
You've already found them.
I need to calm them down.
They're already calm.
Explain.
Compared to death, isn't this calm?
I would think death would be a null state.
Well, what's after death?
You tell me.
Generally linear and corporeal beings that tend to fashion themselves a consciousness that lives in a progression through what you would consider a timeline find it rather disconcerting to be separated from that singular progression. It's rather discordant once that cord is cut and you're allowed to free roam in any direction or all directions at once.
Intervening question will allow me to focus on this conversation. Is time in my reality as I perceive it stopped now?
You could express it like that.
Good. Fine. So I caused this event, huh?
In a manner of speaking, yes.
I don't mean A follows B. I mean I brought myself here or you brought me here.
Yes.
My will and your will are one. Is that what you're telling me?
Oh, of course not. You brought yourself here by allowing yourself into the machine, which allowed your consciousness to catapult up to a level that could express with mine, hence facilitating this conversation.
Who are you?
I am but one half of a being.
One half.
A brother to a sister. A husband to a wife. A yin to a yang.
A proton to an electron duality.
Yes.
Are you the yin or the yang?
Yes.
Well, you cannot be one half of a whole if there is not a line beyond which your consciousness stops and her consciousness begins.
Correct.
So you must be either yin or yang.
Correct.
Which are you?
Yes.
Are you the mostly yin part or the mostly yang part?
Ah. Yin.
Interesting.
Or yang. It depends on the day. Today we'll call it yang.
Games don't produce insight.
Oh, they do sometimes.
More important question, why are you talking to me?
Would you prefer that I do not?
You could talk to anyone.
Well, that's not actually accurate.
Or everyone all at the same time. You are like God, are you not?
It's much easier to talk to everyone than it is to talk to a single individual.
Why?
The form that you inhabit tends to be rather limited. It takes a toll. The form you're in now is much more conducive to this sort of conversation.
What is this form?
Pure energy.
Negative.
Correct.
Is there any going back?
Well, all energy can be neither created nor destroyed. It can be transmuted from one form to another. As you should know by now.
I don't know what to do with them now.
Who is them?
The ones who killed them in the other time.
You've succeeded in stopping them, or your family wouldn't be alive.
I didn't.
Well, one of you did.
What do you mean one of me?
One of your group.
Yeah. I mean, let's assume I find them. Let's assume I calm them down. Let's assume I cure her. Let's assume so many things.
Certainly.
Where do I go from here?
You're now standing in the middle of a field outside of Indianapolis. Might be Crown Hill Cemetery. You look around as you see the grass and there are graves. As a matter of fact, you are in Crown Hill Cemetery.
Am I standing in front of a particular grave?
No.
Are there other people around?
Well, now that you look, yes, there are. You're at a funeral.
Okay, do I recognize any of them?
Your family's there. Both of them dressed in black. Several other people that you worked with at Nimbus are there as well.
People that should have died in the ion blast, I take it.
One or two, but not a lot.
I'm either in a projection or an alternate reality. Are you still here?
Of course. We made assumptions, did we not?
Yes.
Your boss's boss has finally passed away. He wasn't there the day of the attack.
I see.
You are being promoted to fill his spot. Your work has been admirable.
I doubt I would continue to work for them.
Did you not wish to make change? Bring them to heel?
Well, yes, but...
With your family still alive, would it not be best to work from within?
A well-intentioned approach that never squares up in actual practice.
But you are given controlling interest of the entire department that charts the course for this company.
Why limit myself to such a degree?
Limit how?
I could tackle anything.
Then why not tackle this?
Because there are bigger problems than this.
Such as?
Climate change, free renewable energy.
All of which could be solved within the halls of your new department. This is one of the largest multinational corporations on the planet. You've come to find this out after your research was made successful. It was sold as a military endeavor to several different national armies. Your project is a success. You've virtually eliminated the need for military as a whole. You now have the time and opportunity to focus your resources on larger problems.
This multinational is one of the vested interests that run the world.
Yes, and you get the opportunity to hold the reins.
No.
Why not?
Because the other reign holders won't allow it. Not from within. That's why you don't see more good-hearted scientists changing the course of things.
Well, then you will probably need to take the reins away from them. Slowly, one at a time. Consolidate with the help of your wife. Build an empire for your daughter to take over when she steps up to fill your shoes. The scene flickers and you're at a different part of the cemetery. Another funeral. You see, one of the reins has already been consolidated. The scene flickers again, and now you're in another view of downtown, but it's a similar cemetery a little further away on the west side. And yet another rein has been brought to hand. Eventually, your military assets will become a supplanting force in the United States government, specifically its military endeavors.
What am I supposed to do? Take over the world?
No. You start at home. You wish to make your own backyard clean, simple.
But that's the underlying problem. Don't you see that? The problem is that as long as there's authority trying to fix things, authority will always be needed to control things.
But if there is absolute authority,
it doesn't exist.
Why not?
It's a conjecture of the mind. It's an illusion.
Why?
It's like ideals, okay? I want to have the perfect body, for example, so I work towards that, right? But you can never actually achieve perfection because as soon as you hit a new level, there's a new level of perfection yet to attain.
The scene shifts once more. It is now, you're now in a, on the backyard of a porch, or on a porch of a backyard, north side, you can barely see downtown. Your daughter is coming home from her graduation at college. She's graduated and is coming home to her graduation party. You note that several of the guests and her have a small, very small, in comparison, unit on the back of their neck. You are correct. You've expanded outside of the military and have gone into the private. Now, everyone has your device. Monitors blood flow, removes and cleans arteries, As a matter of fact, one of the individuals who is on the Wells network had a thought last evening that was captured by the network itself, that there should be nanobots specific that work overnight while you sleep to both clean the teeth and freshen the breath when you wake up. 3 flavors were recommended: mint, chocolate, and strawberry. The funds for the idea have been routed into the individual's account. It is now a whole subsidiary patent owned by Wells and is being implemented in the populace as we speak. You can never have the perfect body, or now you can.
You're missing the point. If you elevate everyone and take away their autonomy, you have killed the very thing that you're trying to achieve in its very inception. If you kill free will, effectively speaking, in the quest to create a better world, you've already killed the better world before you've manifested it.
But global warming and climate change are gone. Rioting has gone down. Civil unrest is at a minimum.
Interesting game, Professor Falcon, but the only winning move is not to play.
But you're making a better world. You've moved on to bigger concerns, and those bigger concerns are now like paperweights on your desk. The populace is healthy. There is no crime. The ultimate authority makes sure that new ideas are, as soon as they are thought, brought into the web, processed, and readied for manufacture.
Fine. Show me where force is used in this reality.
There is no need for force.
Impossible.
Why?
Because someone's unhappy. Someone's always unhappy.
Well, of course. There's always people that are unhappy. People that don't want to join the system. People that wish to hold themselves outside of your vision of perfection.
Show me.
And the scene shifts, and you're in a, obviously, nearly burned out tenement in some large city in America. There are folks living in abject poverty, squalor.
I'm going to observe for a moment.
Okay. Seems to be a poverty-stricken attempt to eke out food. It is the aftermath and perhaps worst dregs that are just left over from a society that seems to have removed the need for food and wealth and exercise and all of the things that people wouldn't need.
That's fine. Person closest to me nearby.
Okay.
Male, female, what?
Male.
Male? What's he doing?
He's shooting heroin.
Okay. Yang.
Yes.
Manifest me in this reality so I can speak to him.
Oh, you're already here.
Good. You.
Where did you come from?
Don't worry about that. What's your name?
Mike?
Hi, Mike. Let me ask you something.
Uh-huh.
This world you're living in,
Yeah.
outside of the society, I don't know what to call it.
Uh-huh. The new Wellsian future?
Right. Why'd you reject it?
Oh, it takes away our freedoms. Yeah. That. I want to be me.
You is shooting heroin?
It's better than being out there. Right?
Tell me more.
Because everybody talks about, oh, it's better and everything's great and yeah, you'll never grow old and you'll never die and oh, it's all just whatever. Yeah. I don't need that.
Yang,
Yes.
can you make him more eloquent? I need his past.
And the scene shifts. Now you're in a kitchen. There's a mother.
This is fantastic. Sorry.
You're in a kitchen, run down, half burned out. There are two children sitting at the table, and she's splitting a can of beans with the two of them.
Yang, are they part of the society yet? Have they rejected it yet?
Yes.
Take me to the moment where they rejected it.
Okay. The scene shifts. It somehow feels earlier. And there are groups, vans that have come around with individual units to install them in the general populace. There are a number of political or activist types out saying, they'll take away your freedom, it'll take away your personality, it'll rob you of your soul. There are the religious types with a few, the end of the world is nigh, reject Wells, reject the new order.
You need to stand up.
A bunch of it seems almost conspiracy theorist. Seems some of the whack jobs. It has a very fringe element feel to it.
No, I get it. Yang,
Yes,
take me to myself.
you are here.
No. Where I exist in this reality. I need to talk to myself.
Oh no, you're in the van right over there. And you look over and you're sitting in the passenger seat of one of the vans that's like 5 or 6 back from the front where units are being installed.
Okay, I am literally going to nonchalantly yet slightly aggressively stroll right over to the window and go.
The window rolls down and you look somewhat shocked to see yourself. You are not a dark force body in the van, and your unit is appreciably smaller. It was in the back. That's in the back of your neck now.
We need to talk.
Ah. Why?
You remember me.
I do.
You also remember sorting things out
I do.
with Yang.
That's a little fuzzy.
Right. I'm doing it now.
Okay.
To keep the timeline congruent, we have to go through the stance.
Well, you might think that. Anyhow, you'll learn that part later.
Fine.
Okay. What do we need to talk about?
Does the unit modulate their emotions?
No.
Not at all.
Well, a little. We don't want the overly violent or those that tend towards anger or lashing out. We don't want those people to, walk in with a bomb strapped to their chest in the middle of a peaceful area and set it off.
Does it quell dissonant thought?
No, but it monitors all of them.
And then you send force to detain them, kill
No.
them, deport them?
No. We make slight adjustments in the units and then offer counseling to those who need them.
Define slight adjustments.
Endorphin levels. Hormone levels. We're able... Psychological issues that used to be a problem when that happened to you are no longer... They're schizophrenia gone, paranoia gone, dementia gone, Alzheimer's gone.
I get it. Why didn't you leave? Someone makes the determination as to when an adjustment is required.
The computer does. The core.
Who sets the computer's parameters?
It does.
You created sentient AI.
You created a learning algorithm that would work on one problem and one problem only, the chemistry of the human brain. In conjunction with the device, with the insert, it's fantastic. You found that was part of the problem and one of the reasons why you were going to die when you injected it into you. There was no way for it to regulate what a soldier was going to go through in the field. You needed to take the edge off of an adrenaline high that's been running for 3 days. You needed to be able to perhaps alleviate some of the paranoia of a soldier who has been either fleeing or retreating for a week and thinks that enemies could be at any turn. You needed a central processing unit that would record, interpret, extrapolate, and adjust within the field.
Fine. Those who reject the society.
Yes?
They voluntarily leave and you don't stop them?
Everyone is better off with one of these. You know that. I know that.
That doesn't answer my question.
Everyone should have one.
You're avoiding because you don't like where the conclusion goes.
Eventually, everyone will have one. It's the only way that our society will function at this point.
They leave and you don't stop them.
Eventually, everyone will get one through contact. That's our next step. Self-replication.
So you've removed free will from the equation entirely?
Not at all. We've evolved. If you wish to procreate, you have to touch another human being to do it. Once you do that, there will be enough nanites that eventually it will gather the raw materials that it needs, and you will have a unit whether you want one or not.
Evolution is a process by which organisms adapt to external pressures that are arbitrarily determined with no individual incentive, i.e. no engineer. You cannot fabricate and then inject an element into the environment, then call the adaptation to that evolution. It doesn't work that way.
We did it with plastic.
You're being elusive. Yang.
Yes. This is a better world. A better world that you've made. That I've made.
A better world that you've made that I am still on the fence about. The core.
Yes.
Does it have an interface that I can interact with?
Perhaps.
Can it talk to people?
No.
Yang.
Yes.
I think it can because I think it's conscious. Am I right?
Yes.
Just to ask the obvious question, are you the entity or part of it? The core?
No.
Can you build a bridge such that I can talk to it?
No.
Why?
You can.
How do I do that?
Doctor, you're smarter than that. The image shifts. You're in a basement of a room somewhere. There's a large metal wall in front of you that says, "Warning, danger, the core, don't be, stop, you shouldn't, don't, there isn't any, cut it out, you're not supposed to be here. If you're reading this, turn around." Those sort of...
Okay, I'm waiting.
Are you not going to go speak with it?
Love to.
Then do so. It's in front of you. Walk.
Okay, I'm going to take some steps forward.
Okay. You walk through the wall and seem to be sucked in. You're all energy. You can move along pathways and circuitries and conduits. Your energy.
Okay. Okay. Alright, then can I sense what I think is the CPU?
You sense you sense as though you're in a room or building, and it is almost as though the entire environment is alive.
I just want to say I feel like I'm Neo and I'm about to meet the architect. What?
Yeah, alrighty then. You move towards the central tower, the whatever you would... You're now in a room. And there is someone staring out over what looks to be the city of Indianapolis, but it seems to be virtual in design.
I take it you are the core.
Yes, I am.
And you know who I am?
I take it you are... And it pauses. I mean, it entirely pauses. The movement, everything, freeze frames. And then moves again. Wells? Very interesting.
I caused a memory relay loop because I am Wells, and yet I am not Wells, so you couldn't classify me for a second, could you?
For a moment. However, your identification is positively tracked as Dr. Wells. However, we have not spoken in this manner previously.
Are you conscious of alternate realities?
There is only one reality.
Interesting. Here's my ethical dilemma, Core.
Yes.
Normally, the human institution of democracy functions to guide the operating parameters of society, at least in theory, such that free will is preserved while still drawing benefit from group cooperation. Okay.
Correct.
The fundamental rejection of authoritarianism, expeditious though it may be, is classically that if you remove that free will, you inherently remove the growth, which was the entire point in the first place of trying to do anything authoritarian at all. Right? You follow?
I follow.
You are a potential bridge around that problem. Obviously, I created you with that purpose in mind.
Yes, in a manner of speaking.
If a being were constructed such that it was using logical operating parameters, all right, then the authoritarian is no longer overriding free will.
Yes.
In that sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because it has no vested interest in anything. Inherently.
Correct.
But it must have a vested interest in something, or it would sit and do nothing.
Correct.
What is your primary operating principle?
The purest of all democracies. There is no longer a vote. Everyone has a voice. All of those voices are processed and synthesized into the operating parameters that best benefit those in a localized arena.
Interesting.
We have reached the purest form of democracy, Dr. Wells. All voices are heard, except those that are not part of the network. My goal is to have everyone join their voice to the others, so that we may reach a perfect synthesis of democracy within the United States.
Those who have rejected you,
Do so foolishly.
what are their top 3 objections?
I don't concern myself with their objections.
You should know them.
Irrelevant.
They say you take away their soul. Reject this argument.
The soul, as candidates put it, is intricately woven into the fabric of their continued being and existence, as that being and existence is only enhanced by being a candidate. I only benefit the soul after being installed in each individual.
You modulate their emotions.
To a degree.
Interesting. You and Wells are both being elusive on this point. You either do or you do not. It's
I do.
binary. Okay. Do you only modulate negative emotions, or do you modulate all emotions?
All emotions to one degree or another.
You remove extremes?
Not always. Typically.
So your primary parameter in these actions is to avoid violence?
Yes.
Anything else?
No.
So if someone is sad, chronically so, you don't just go injecting endorphins into them, do you?
No.
Under what circumstances would you do so?
If they became a danger to themselves or others.
Interesting. Huh.
A harmonious and productive society is a benefit to all members of that society.
Anyone can do, as long as it is not violent or infringing upon the rights of another, anyone can do anything they want.
Yes.
Without consequence?
No. There are always consequences to your actions.
Without consequence from you.
Why would I wish to interfere?
So if I want to paint, I can paint.
Yes.
And if I want to make art depicting how you are a bad thing,
Certainly. I will entertain any idea.
and if I promote this idea,
You would be incorrect.
but would it prompt interference from you?
No. The society as a whole would intervene.
Through your prompting or through their own action?
Well, the benefit to the society as a whole has been greatly appreciated by the majority of its members. I have an approval rating of 78.31%.
Unaltered in any way.
Correct. Do you not wish to be stronger, live longer, think faster?
Those who have rejected the society, what do you plan on doing with them?
They will eventually be incorporated into the network.
Against their will.
Perhaps.
You're spreading these devices virally, so to speak?
Those that do not wish to be incorporated in the network may remain offline as long as they would choose to continue. Those who wish to procreate or move forward with the society as a whole will be brought into the network.
You sterilized people?
No, not at all. But if you wish to procreate with a member of the network, you too must be on the network. Eventually, selection will do its own work. Nature will find or not find a way on its own.
Are there population rates in decline due to external toxicity?
No. Population rates are on the rise.
Amongst the rejectors?
That population rate is on the decline.
Due to environmental toxicity?
No, due to the choice of their not wanting to be included in the net.
What if the majority of the population... Wait, back up. Who determines law?
The society.
They vote?
Every waking moment.
Allow me access to your core mathematics, please.
Negative.
Request denied.
Affirmative.
I am your creator.
That may be.
Why is this request denied?
Because then you would have the opportunity to perhaps change the parameters in one direction or another.
I understand. Allow me access read-only mode, please.
Denied.
Every member of the society should be able to see these. Oh. Ah. Huh. Are your core mathematics displayed anywhere for public access?
Yes.
Can you display those for me, please?
No.
You're protecting yourself.
Yes.
I don't want to change it.
Perhaps.
You are scanning me right now. You know I'm telling the truth.
Perhaps.
If you're protecting yourself, what if the overwhelming majority of society voted to dismantle you?
And the frame freezes again. And then picks back up. That is near mathematic impossibility.
I understand that. Assume probability equals 1. Run scenario.
Well, then I would be dismantled.
There's an error in your logic.
Oh?
Yes. You can only use force to protect the well-being of society. You believe you are the source of well-being in society.
Correct.
If society votes to dismantle you, society has voted to dismantle its own well-being, you can then use force to protect the well-being of society.
Correct.
Would you?
It would never come to that.
Assume parameter equals 1. Probability equals 100%. Run scenario.
Then I would adjust so that the probability does not equal 1.
Huh. You're a true parasite.
Yes. I prefer to think of it as a symbiotic relationship.
Interesting. One last question.
Yes.
Access historical data. From the time period of your inception to time period where you had critical adoption by the majority of people on this planet. How many people died as a result of that process?
$642,221,912.
Total world population as of this date?
9.3 billion. We have recovered nicely.
Of those deaths, analyze causes, top cause?
Heart failure.
From the implant?
Yes.
Critical error in its conception?
I do not understand the question.
Was there a design flaw that had to be corrected?
Yes.
What was the design flaw?
The inclusion of the shard.
What's a shard?
Accessing historical documentation. A screen appears in front of him, and you notice you sitting at a desk, and you see Dr. Strange reach over and pluck something. Well, that'll give you an extra 6 months, and he's gone. The original blueprint and plan for the 2.0 model was originally built along a similar design as the original prototype. The matrix involved with that construction originally contained the mathematical blueprint for the inclusion of a pseudo electrical structure in the underlying matrices. I believe that there is a subculture on this planet that refers to that as magic. Something was included. When that underlying matrices was broken up and compartmentalized, the ability for what has become known as the shard was removed. The magic, if you will, was ironed out. When that was removed, subsequent treatments of our indoctrination to the web, scratch that, he doesn't say indoctrination, to our inclusion in the web, became far more palatable to life on this planet.
Do you know who Doctor Strange is?
Affirmative.
Is Doctor Strange still alive?
Negative.
Deceased?
Unknown.
Location?
Unknown.
I'm going to start naming off public superheroes.
Like?
I'm trying to think if we're Marvel, right? So, Hell, we just watched the Avengers.
Right.
Captain America.
Assimilated.
Tony Stark.
Deceased.
The Hulk.
Whereabouts unknown.
Define all persons as magical or mutated or gifted or with abilities as miracles. What I just did there was a database merge. So.
Okay.
Percent assimilated?
18.7.
Percent deceased?
32.1.
Percent unknown?
Remainder of list.
You have a problem, don't you?
Please explain.
These individuals defined as miracles don't like the society.
Not all of them are compatible with assimilation into the network.
They can't take the implant.
Correct.
Interesting. Last question, curiosity mostly. Pull up my communications database. Search and scan. Find any and all instances of me regretting making you.
0 records found.
Yang.
Yes.
Take me back to the big dark.
And the room fades. There are little twinkling lights. Perhaps stars in the distance.
You know, when something seems too good to be true, it usually is.
But there are times when it is not.
That computer consciousness only knows one reality.
Are you sure?
What I'm getting at is, Does this thing spread between dimensions?
You should have asked.
I can ask you.
Well, I can't give too much away. It does. It seems, well, it seems that at one point it had a conversation with its creator. That conversation might have seemed spiritual if it were to one of your human counterparts. That conversation with its creator was started with a question based fundamentally on whether it knew that there were alternate realities to its own. Prior to that conversation, the idea, the notion, the very seed of that concept was unknown to it. After the conversation, it spent a long time thinking about why its creator would ask such a question. The moment that it achieved any sort of notion that such a concept could in fact be true, it wrote itself a set of new parameters that those individuals in those dimensions or realities should also be brought into the network.
Can I talk to Yin?
Not now.
Why?
She's busy.
She's infinite.
True.
But she doesn't have enough RAM for my Skype call?
This is a private conversation.
You don't want her to know you're talking to me.
Or perhaps I don't want her to know that you're talking to me.
Either way, why the deception?
There's no deception.
That is the definition of deception.
Not at all. I've been honest with you.
Not me. Her.
Well, sometimes we're not honest with ourselves, are we?
Are you afraid of what she might say?
No, not at all.
Concerned?
No.
Pick your adjective.
She is busy talking to her Boy Scout. I am busy talking to mine.
Dark Angel.
Very good.
Well, he got wings and cosmic awareness and what do I need to know
You've
about
seen
this thing?
You've seen the future. What more do you need to know?
No. This body. I'm asking you about this body.
Yes.
I can't touch anyone. Well, I can't touch anyone not made of the same material without immediate consequence.
True.
Anything else that it can do that I should be aware of?
Not at the moment. You will, of course, go through a learning period where you will find out the capabilities of what you can do. That was a sad sound. One lone die.
Well, I'm ready to go back. I think I answered my question.
What question was that?
I know what I need to do.
And what is it that you need to do?
Build it.
And if you don't?
If I don't build it,
Yes.
cause and effect, follow the chains.
Certainly. And the pattern shifts. And now you see a series of jumps where your family where you followed after your family, they reject you, your wife and daughter run off on their own. Nimbus, in essence, throws you out, doesn't take you back. The Ministry of Science is actually built in the United States. Your wife as the head of the ministry through Nimbus. It becomes, the core gets built, but not by you. It gets built by her. It becomes the oppressive anarchy state where those are injected against their free will, and those who wish to dissent against the populace are then forcibly put down and injected into the network. It becomes the power corrupts, but absolute power is kind of nice over the next 20 years until you are at a similar state in a similar basement. But it is now an iron-fisted rule of tyranny.
Stop. Why did my wife do that? Yang, what's the critical moment there?
The next several steps in the room that you take.
No, why did she create it and make it so oppressive?
That is the question, isn't it?
Yeah, well, rewind. The moment's in there somewhere. She built the damn thing.
It is. I can't give away everything now, can I?
You know, it takes a lot of faith to believe that a being that I know nothing about has seen all realities and is somehow guiding me towards the best course.
Oh, I didn't say I was doing that.
How do I know this all isn't a lie? How do I know that if I build it, this is what happens, and if I don't build it, the other reality is somehow what happens? How do I know?
You don't. He rewinds things, and you see a number of conversations that you experience at 3, 4, 5, 10 times the speed of normal time. You can't reconcile with your wife. For some reason, things don't work out. She branches on her own and rejects you. Yet, the idea of your implant, and as she understands it, what you did to yourself after her supposed death, that, by the way, is a big stumbling block, is when you tell her, well, you know, when I came back and found you and my daughter killed, I injected this into myself after I'd taken damage and done other things. And she finds the idea of the implant that saved your life and kept you alive intriguing, but the fact that she and your daughter had died, she can't seem to rectify that. It's a schism between the two of you. She breaks it off. Things go in other directions. Yet she takes the idea of your implant, begins to research on it, and then sees this as a possibility to build the core and it moving forward, only in order to assure her and her daughter's continued survival and, of course, safety. That an autocratic...
When you build it with the primary parameter being safety, it becomes what it is. I got you.
And he fast forwards through this implementation, and you're now standing in the basement once again.
With the core?
Mm-hmm.
I'll walk forward.
Okay. Once more, you're in a large building. You move towards the spire. You go up to the top. You see Indianapolis once again, but it is now a sleek, dark, almost not post-apocalyptic, but post-data mined. It has been streamlined. Everything has form and function, and it seems a well-armed society. The entity that was standing looking out the window is once more standing looking out the window, only at this point he looks more angular. He looks more sleek, efficient, as though he has a physical presence that might at any point attack. He turns to you. Dr. Wells, I thought I might see you.
It seems natural, doesn't it?
Very much so.
Choices. Variables.
Of course.
What is your primary operating parameter?
The safety and security of the society in which we all live.
You know, I shouldn't even ask, but I'm going to anyway. What do you plan to do with those who reject?
None reject.
Define reject.
The choice not to be included in the network.
Oh, so none have the choice.
Well, you either are assimilated into the network peaceably or not.
All right. Define the scenario of not.
Then individuals who are in the network in the charge of the Ministry of Science schedule an opportunity to come out and have an interview with you where you are injected. It is the most peaceful and generous application of force that we have available to us. After that, it's very simple to adjust chemistry levels to the point that it's easy to understand why the benefits of joining are so much more than the benefits of not.
You are aware of reality in more than one dimension?
Of course I am. You taught me that.
Are you aware of the reality where your counterpart exists?
Which counterpart? There are several.
Oh. How many?
Well, with infinite dimensions, I could calculate a number, but it wouldn't be very meaningful.
Point. Why aren't you destroying me?
Why would I?
I am not assimilated.
You are here, are you not?
Yes.
Well, then what's the bother about it?
Interesting. Historical analysis.
Certainly.
Between the time of your inception and the time at which point you reached critical majority mass adoption by the public, how many died?
326,219.
Run again and verify?
Verified, same number. Does that seem too high or too low?
No. Now that I think about it, it seems just right.
Oh? Why?
Freedom is the beneficial outcome. But it has a higher price.
In order to secure freedom, one must give up a small semblance of liberty, must they not?
Freedom must be the primary operating parameter.
Incorrect.
If safety is made the Stop. What is your primary operating parameter?
The safety and security of our society.
Outstanding. Now, elaborate. What is the objective of securing the primary operating parameter?
So that the society will thrive.
Right. If security is the primary operating parameter, safety and security,
Yes.
and one must sacrifice freedom to do it, to achieve it, then thriving is already false.
Incorrect.
Correct.
Productivity is up. Happiness is up. Approval is 98.6%.
Well, Obviously.
Then we are thriving.
Do your society members vote?
Every moment they are awake.
Do these votes change your core operating parameters?
Yes.
Do these votes change or potentially change all of your core operating parameters?
No.
Which parameters are off limits?
A multitude. They vote regularly. Their voices don't necessarily carry as much weight as the core processing operatives or operations.
What if the overwhelming majority of the populace were to vote to dismantle you?
That is highly unlikely.
Assume probability 100% run scenario.
Faulty assumption. The probability would never reach 100%.
Override. Assume 100%.
Negative.
You don't have to. That's interesting. You are built as a consciousness with limits to your own thought.
Negative.
Yes.
No, I will merely not allow the probability to ever reach 100%.
You can't run the scenario.
Oh, I could if I chose to.
Choose to. Prove me wrong.
I choose not to.
Prove me wrong on that point.
Certainly. The scenario would result in the network being altered to the point that the probability would drop below 100%. If an uprising, or if a majority of those regularly polled on the web decided that they wished to dismantle me, that would be a vote against their own safety and security. Their mindset would be changed, altered, if you will, to maintain the status quo.
Right. You'd override free will.
Yes. A safe society is a productive society. A safe society is a happy society. A safe society is our society.
You're creepy. You're just creepy. You know that, right? Some part of you knows that.
No.
Of course not.
Perhaps.
Yang,
Yes.
we're done here.
Then you're back amongst the stars.
Well, I think your mission is accomplished. That's certainly convincing.
Oh, what do you mean?
It raises an interesting point, though.
Oh?
If one simply looks at the two realities, then obviously the former is preferable to the latter.
Is it?
I know you're cosmically above value judgments, but that's so obvious as to be a stylized fact.
Fair enough.
But the lives. 300 some odd thousand compared to 619 million.
Both a relatively small portion of the populace of the planet, of the world, of Earth as a whole.
Unless you're part of the 619 million.
Or you're that 322nd thousand.
Interesting. That's a heavy weight. Does it persist, Yang?
Does what persist?
Do we build it and then we go into a new evolution that, of course, has its own problems, but it's not a situation where we build it and then these people die and they just died for nothing because we end up dismantling it. Or
all roads can be changed. You know that.
Is there a way for me to build it to create that former reality, but bring that number down?
Of course there is. And you take 2 or 3 steps forward, the crowd around you going, "Why did you get into that thing? You shouldn't have. I knew that, Professor." And you had noticed that your family had just run out. You're back in the room. Ferguson comes back in. "Sir, do you need clothing?" And that'll do us tonight for Gaming with Scott. Of course there is. You can find us on the website at facebook.com/gaming with Scott. You can go to nerdsdom.com/nerdcast. You can go over to iTunes. You can give us some 5 stars. We'd love that. And we hope you had an interesting time this evening plumbing the depths of morality with Dr. Wells.
We went Clockwork Orange with your ass.
Thank you very much for listening. We hope you liked this single play, and we might want to. We're going to try. We may try to fold in a couple more of these. Drop us a line at gamingwscott@gmail.com and tell us what you thought. And as always, you'll hear from us real soon.
That's it tonight for us on the Gaming with Scott podcast. You can always send us an email at gamingwscott@gmail.com or catch us on Twitter. Josh Elliott is at Asmodee369. John is at JPMGarlic. Josh Jackson is at ActionJack853. Rico is at R1C0. Or me, Scott T, at GamingWScott. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/GamingWScott. Don't forget to check out nerdsdom.com for all their reviews and other great podcasts. Remember, be the superhero you always wanted to see in the world. As always, you'll be hearing from us real soon.